Have you ever read an English sentence, understood every single word, but still had absolutely no idea what the sentence meant?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time.
It is the most frustrating thing when you know the vocabulary, but the meaning just disappears.
It's like magic, but bad magic.
Right? It's usually because of those tricky two-word or three-word verbs.
Phrasal verbs, the silent language killers.
Exactly. They are everywhere in native English conversation.
They are necessary for fluency, but they can be a nightmare to learn.
That's why we're here today. We're going to break down some of the most common ones.
We'll make them easy to understand.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo.
Welcome to the English Blend.
This is the place where we help you learn English through realistic, easy-to-understand conversation.
Today, we're tackling those little monsters, phrasal verbs.
We called this episode Common Phrasal Verbs You Must Know.
Because you really do need them. You can't avoid them.
They are fundamental to everyday speaking.
Absolutely. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Let's dive right in.
Before we get into the list, Leo, let's quickly define what a phrasal verb actually is.
Great idea. We want to start simple.
So, simply put, a phrasal verb is a verb combined with a preposition or an adverb.
Or sometimes both, a verb plus a little extra word.
The key thing is that when you put those two words together, the meaning changes completely.
The new meaning usually has nothing to do with the original verb.
Think about the verb to look.
Simple, right? It means to see something with your eyes.
Exactly. But if I add the preposition up, it becomes look up.
And look up no longer means looking upwards at the sky.
No, it means to search for information. For example, in a dictionary or on the internet.
So if I say I need to look up that word, it means I need to search for the definition.
Exactly. That's the magic or the frustration of phrasal verbs.
They change the meaning completely. You have to learn them as a single unit, not two separate words.
That is a great summary. Learn them as one unit.
Because if you try to translate each word separately, you will fail every time.
You'll end up looking up at the dictionary, not looking up the word in the dictionary.
Very important distinction.
So let's start with one that everyone uses several times a day.
Which one are you thinking of?
Let's start with turn on and turn off.
Oh, classic. Essential verbs.
We use these for electronic devices.
Like your TV, your lights, or your computer.
If the device is off, you turn it on.
If the device is running and you want to stop it, you turn it off.
Please turn on the lights. It's getting dark in here.
Or I need to turn off my phone during the movie.
Simple, clear, and absolutely necessary.
We should also mention that these are separable phrasal verbs.
That's a good point. What does separable mean, Leo?
It means you can separate the verb and the preposition with the object.
So, instead of turn on the TV, I can say turn the TV on.
Yes, and sometimes, if the object is a pronoun, like it, you must separate them.
That's key. You must say turn it on. You cannot say turn on it.
Never say turn on it. Native speakers will look at you strangely.
That's a little insider tip right there. Separable verbs, if you use it, separate them.
That's essential grammar for phrasal verbs.
So, we have turn on, start device, and turn off, stop device.
Easy to remember and super common.
What's the next essential one we should go over?
Good use of a phrasal verb there, Mia. Go over means to review or examine.
See, we can't even talk about phrasal verbs without using them.
Let's look at one that causes a lot of scheduling chaos. Call off.
Ooh, this is a good one. Call means to phone someone.
But call off means to cancel something.
It has nothing to do with making a phone call unless you're calling to cancel the event.
Exactly. You might hear, they had to call off the wedding because of the rain.
Or the meeting was called off until next week.
It implies a cancellation or postponement.
And this is another separable one, right?
It is. You could say, they had to call the party off.
That sounds very natural. It flows well when separated.
It does. So call off means cancel. If you remember that simple definition, you are set.
Let's stick with the idea of meetings and plans. How about put off?
Ah, put off. This is incredibly common in professional and student life.
If you put something off, what are you doing?
You are delaying it. You are postponing it until a later time.
It's often related to procrastination, isn't it?
Very much so. It's when you don't want to do something, so you delay it.
I keep putting off cleaning my apartment.
Yes, that means you delay the cleaning every day. It's always scheduled for tomorrow.
That is highly relatable. I think everyone can identify with putting things off.
We are all masters of procrastination sometimes.
So, put off means delay or postpone.
But be careful. Put off has another meaning too.
The multiple meanings, the bane of the English learner.
It can also mean it to discourage or disgust someone,
Like, the rude waiter really put me off the restaurant.
meaning the waiter discouraged you from liking the restaurant or perhaps even disgusted you.
Wow. So, context is everything here.
Always check the context with phrasal verbs. They are sneaky.
But for most daily use, when talking about tasks, put off means delay.
Stick with that one first. It's the most common usage.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Another phrasal verb. Move on means to transition to a new topic. You see how frequent they are?
It is truly unavoidable. Let's talk about relationships now.
Excellent. We need to know how people interact.
We need to talk about get along.
Get along. A fantastic phrasal verb.
This is an inseparable one. We don't break this one up.
Correct. And what does get along mean, Mia?
It means to have a good, friendly relationship with someone, to exist together harmoniously.
If you get along with your coworker, you have a good working relationship.
My brother and I finally started to get along after high school.
Meaning they stopped fighting and became friends. If you don't get along with someone, it means you often argue or disagree.
And usually when we use get along, we add with afterward.
I get along with almost everyone in my class.
That's a perfect example. This is fundamental for social situations.
It shows your social skill level, you know?
Exactly. If you can use get along, you sound much more natural.
Should we look at another verb using look since we introduced it earlier?
Yes, let's revisit look. We covered look up. How about look forward to?
Oh, I love look forward to. It's so positive.
It's a three-part phrasal verb. Verb plus adverb plus preposition.
And it means to feel excited and happy about something that is going to happen in the future. It expresses anticipation.
If you are planning a vacation, you are probably looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Note the structure here, learners. After look forward to, you must use a noun or a gerund, the ing form of a verb.
So you say, I'm looking forward to the party, noun.
Or, I'm looking forward to meeting your family, gerund, or verb ing.
That's a common mistake. People try to use the base form of the verb. Don't do that. Use the ing form.
That's a high-level grammar detail hiding inside a common phrasal verb.
It makes a huge difference in how polished you sound.
Okay, let's do one more before our fun fact. How about take off?
Take off. This is a classic example of an idiomatically complex phrasal verb.
Why is it complex? Because it has so many meanings.
Right. Let's take on the challenge of explaining it. There's another one. Take on means accept a challenge.
If we're talking about an airplane, takeoff means the plane leaves the ground,
The flight will take off at 3 p.m.
meaning it will start flying.
But what if I am talking about clothes?
If you take off your jacket, you remove it.
It's hot in here. I need to take off my sweater.
And what if we talk about a business or a career?
Ah, if a business takes off, it means it suddenly becomes very successful or popular,
Her YouTube channel really took off last year.
meaning it became a huge success quickly. 3 completely different meanings depending on the context.
Airplane, clothes, or sudden success. Wow, you have to be ready for all three.
That's why phrasal verbs feel overwhelming sometimes. But they are also powerful tools once you master them.
Speaking of mastering them, I have a fun fact related to phrasal verbs and English history.
Lay it on us, Leo.
Phrasal verbs often come from the Anglo-Saxon roots of English. They are usually shorter, more direct, and less formal than their Latin or French-derived synonyms.
That's interesting. Can you give us an example?
Sure. Instead of the formal word commence, which comes from Latin, native speakers usually say start up or kick off, both phrasal verbs.
That is true. We rarely use commence in casual conversation.
We say put off, Anglo-Saxon, instead of postpone, Latin. We say call off instead of cancel.
So using phrasal verbs makes your English sound more authentic, everyday, and natural.
Exactly. If you want to sound like a native speaker, you must pick up these shorter, punchier phrases.
A great little cultural note there. They are the backbone of casual speech.
They really are. They reflect the history of the language.
Okay, before we jump into our practical tips, let's quickly run over the 6 core phrasal verbs we discussed.
Run over here means to quickly review.
Turn on, turn off. Activate, deactivate a device. Call off, cancel. Put off, delay, or disgust. Get along with, have a good relationship. Look forward to, anticipate happily. Take off, leave the ground, remove clothing, or become successful.
That's a powerful list to start with.
But how do we actually learn them and make them stick? It's hard work, right?
It can feel like it, but we have some excellent practical tips that should help you get over that initial hurdle.
Let's get into those tips now.
This section is about application. How do you stop guessing the meaning and start using phrasal verbs naturally?
Tip number 1, and this is crucial, learn phrasal verbs in context, not in lists.
Absolutely essential. Never just memorize call off equals cancel.
Why not, Leo?
Because you won't remember how to use it correctly in a sentence, and you won't remember if it's separable or inseparable.
You need the full sentence. When you learn call off, write down the sentence, we called off the trip.
Write down 2 or 3 sentences if possible. That shows you the context.
You have to see the verb in action, almost like watching a movie of the sentence.
It's much more memorable when it's tied to a real situation.
That's tip 1, context, context, context.
Tip number 2 is a fun one. Group them by particle, not by verb.
Oh, this is a genius strategy. Explain this one.
Most people try to learn all the take phrasal verbs. Take up, take off, take down, take over, but they are all so different.
They have no common thread except the verb take. It's confusing.
Instead, try grouping all the verbs that use the particle up together.
So, grow up, look up, take up, call up.
Now you are focusing on the spatial or metaphorical meaning of up.
Ah, I see. Often up relates to completion, increase, or activation.
Yes, when you use up the sugar, you use it until it's finished. Completion.
When you brighten up the room, the brightness increases.
This strategy helps your brain find patterns faster. You start seeing connections between the particles.
So, learn all the out verbs or all the in verbs. That's a fantastic organizational tip.
Tip number 3, use physical movement or drawing.
This is for the visual and kinesthetic learners out there.
When you learn put down, physically put something down on the table. Act it out.
When you learn get out, pretend to leave the room.
The body remembers things the brain often forgets. If you attach a simple action to the phrasal verb, it's stored deeper in your memory.
And if you draw a silly picture of the meaning, that works too. Draw someone sadly calling off a party.
Make it ridiculous. The sillier the image, the more likely you are to recall it later.
Tip number 4 is about consistency. Integrate a phrasal verb of the day.
Don't try to learn 20 at once. That leads to burnout.
Just choose one phrasal verb every single morning.
Use it in a sentence about your day, both internally, in your mind, and externally, if you speak English during the day.
Today's phrasal verb is work out, meaning exercise. I hope I can work out later.
Then try to use it naturally when speaking to a friend or when writing an email.
Try to replace a more formal word with your phrasal verb of the day.
Replace discover with find out. Replace tolerate with put up with.
That's how you transition from just knowing the verb to actually using the verb.
Small daily steps lead to huge progress.
And finally, tip number 5, identify and memorize the separability rule.
We touched on this with turn on and call off. It's essential for sounding native.
When you write down your context sentences, tip 1, always make a note. Is this verb separable, S, or inseparable, I?
And if it's separable, write down the pronoun rule. Turn it on. Must separate with it.
That might seem like extra work, but it prevents 90% of awkward errors when speaking quickly.
It's worth the effort. It helps you sound authentic.
So those 5 tips are your roadmap to phrasal verb mastery.
Context, grouping by particle, physical movement, daily integration, and separability rules.
That feels manageable, right? It's a process.
Exactly. Don't worry if you don't catch on immediately. It takes time.
Another one, catch on means to understand or grasp something.
See, they are inescapable.
Let's switch gears slightly. We've talked about phrasal verbs, but we also want to give you a few related idioms for communicating about learning.
These are the little bonus phrases that help you express your learning journey.
The first one is great for motivation. Hit the books.
Hit the books. It does not mean physically hitting your textbook. Please don't do that.
No, it means to study diligently and seriously.
When you have a big exam coming up, you need to hit the books.
I can't go out tonight. I need to hit the books for my English test tomorrow.
It's a very casual, very common phrase.
Our second idiom is essential for talking about skill acquisition. Get the hang of it.
Oh, I use this constantly. What does it mean, Mia?
When you get the hang of it, it means you start to understand how to do something complicated after practicing it for a while.
So when you first start learning phrasal verbs, you feel confused.
Yes, but after practicing for a few weeks, you start to get the hang of it.
It means you've mastered the basic technique or understanding.
Example sentence. Learning to drive was hard, but I finally got the hang of it.
It implies effort and eventual success. It's a great phrase to express progress.
And our final bonus phrase today, which is kind of related to our tip 1, read between the lines.
Read between the lines, a very metaphorical idiom.
It means to look for a deeper meaning that is not explicitly stated.
In the context of English, we often have to read between the lines to understand the true intention or the feeling behind a statement.
Especially with phrasal verbs. If your boss says, we need to look into that budget issue, you might read between the lines and realize he is actually worried.
It's about inferring meaning, understanding the unsaid message.
These 3 phrases, hit the books, get the hang of it, and read between the lines, will really help you discuss your language journey.
They will certainly help you sound fluent when talking about fluency.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground today, Leo.
We certainly did. Phrasal verbs might seem intimidating at first, but they are absolutely conquerable.
Remember that they are non-negotiable. You can't avoid them if you want to speak natural, friendly English.
They make your speech crisp and casual. They are the difference between sounding like a textbook and sounding like a friend.
Our main takeaway is to treat them as single units and learn them in context. That is paramount.
And please apply our practical tips, especially grouping them by particle and acting them out.
Don't forget to use the phrasal verb of the day method. That steady, daily practice is what truly builds fluency.
It doesn't matter if you learn 1 phrasal verb a day or 5 a week. Consistency is key.
So, listeners, we encourage you to write down 2 or 3 new phrasal verbs right now.
Make up your own sentences. That's the fun part.
Try to use look forward to when scheduling your next social event.
Or tell your friends which difficult task you keep putting off.
Practice makes permanent.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The English Blend.
We hope you feel much more confident tackling these challenging yet rewarding parts of English.
Next time, we are going to switch things up a bit. We'll be talking about essential English idioms related to work and the office.
If you have to talk to your boss or colleagues in English, you won't want to miss it.
Thanks for listening. We always love having you here.
That was a great talk.
Yes, see you in the next episode of The English Blend.